You just got back to res from a test that chowed you like slumped chips. To de-stress, you go to the only logical place to calm yourself down and recenter your energies. Twitter.
X.
While doom scrolling, you spot a particularly alarming thread titled AI will replace auditors and accountants. You immediately feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on you heavy. Will the future need CAs? Or will the bots take over, you think to yourself? As students, how do we prepare for a future we can't predict? Once more, we are joined by Microsoft MVP, CA, Automation Specialist, Technologist, and SAICA Top 35 Under 35 finalists in 2023, Renier Wessels. We chat about whether aspiring CAs and CAs alike are actually future-proof in the hyper-digital world we live in, and how you can get ahead with technology in 2025 and beyond as an aspiring CA. We also chat about the actual value adds of the accounting function in business, how true Excel skills can transform your career, the Dunning Kruger effect of Excel skills in the workplace, how to get started with Excel even while studying, and more. I hope you enjoy. My travelers on the road to CASA. Guys, I just read this article by the Financial Times, and it was titled AI in Finance is like moving from typewriters to word processors. And it's like, for me, it just speaks to how pivotal this new AI wave, this AI boom is, and how the tools available to us now, how they're set to make the entire industry just completely flip on itself, in many ways. Some skills will be redundant, but there will be many value adds. It's just a very interesting, I think, age that we live in right now. So that's really how important this episode is, and I hope you enjoy it. It was an absolute ball, and the insights are incredible that Renier shares with us. So with that, on to part 2.
You also mentioned that you took a process that would usually take 2.5 years, and you condensed it into days or a day. For me, I'm just thinking about AI. Now, there's a lot of hype around it. Already, when I think about AI, there's this hype around it's going to replace people. And in a lot of ways, I think about how AI is the only solution for a lot of the situation that we're in. I mean, if you look at the global population, we're having a global population crisis. Populations are declining. I think the fertility rates are 2.5 and the replacement rate's 2.1, and that's getting very, very close. Basically, we are almost at the stage where we're critically declining as populations. So AI is the only way that we can actually replace people and make things more efficient to ensure economies are still operating. We have a shortage of accountants. I mean, that's a huge, huge buzz topic now, and I see AI being that solution, but it's also very scary. It's like a lot of the hype around us, like as students, is, am I going to be relevant? Am I learning things that are going to be relevant in future? What, in your now expert opinion, this is not financial advice, what in your expert opinion is myth? Like what should we not be worried about? What's just hype? And what actually is something we should be paying attention to regarding this?
And look, your question, I mean, I've got so much that I can say around this. So what should you be paying attention to? So I read an article yesterday that essentially says we can't fake it anymore, and that is around fluency, AI fluency. You can't fake it anymore, right? So what that basically is saying is you can't fake knowing what you know about AI anymore. So let me try and phrase that correctly, right? So it's important that in the future people need to be more technologically fluent. I used to work with people that would say, I don't really know how this computer of mine works. I don't really know where to click because I'm not really digital, right? The future is unfortunately digital, and fortunately. Are we being replaced? That's a myth, right? So if you look at the World Economic Forum's job report, it's something that I love looking into. I think the last job report was done in 2023. They look at skills and they look at jobs of the future, and there's a futurist called Gerd Leonard that you can check out on YouTube. He's got lots of content, very, very far out. And if you listen to some of his videos from like 8 years ago now, you realize how relevant it was back then. But back then it sounded like science fiction. He likes saying, we used to talk about science fiction, now it's science fact. But essentially, so what Gerd says and what the Future of Job Report says is that a lot of the jobs of the future hasn't been
created yet.
Yes. So I believe that a chartered accountant in the future will not be doing what they do currently or what they did in the past, and that is true. That is even true for if I compare a 1980s accountant, a chartered accountant, to a 2000s chartered accountant. It's a much different space. Your tool set is a lot different. Back then, they used ledger books and they used red and green pens. Today, we use computers, we use automated software and technology.
We use Bidvest, Alice.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at PwC, for instance, they're currently building Next Gen Audit, which is their audit software. And I mean, today we use Excel, where back then we used to only have calculators and notebooks. So there's a revolution that's occurring in the space, but people will always be relevant, and that's the myth. The myth is that technology will replace us, or let's say us as accountants. It might replace the bookkeeping function, yes, but that's a good thing, because who wants to sit and tick and bash and type in invoice number, amount, and press enter to get to the next line and do that the whole day, right?
Do you think, just a quick little interjection, I think a big problem is that everyone wants to be busy. People don't want to give value. I think there is, in the working world, I don't know if it's a South African thing, it's probably a global thing, but there's a culture to just be one who ticks boxes as opposed to one who gives value. And so when the threat of AI comes that says bookkeeping is going to be redundant, that's like a threat to a person, because it's like, oh no, my easy job that I could just tick boxes in is going to be replaced. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, the important thing to note there is that a lot of the accounting and auditing function in the past, if you take a client experience, they would easily say that it's not adding value, or it's not adding as much value as it could. The value add in the accounting function, for instance, or one of the value adds in the accounting function is being able to explain to the client what is happening in their financial statements, and not just providing the financial statements, properly analyzing their financial statements and their cash flow projections, and adding management accounting advice is a lot more helpful and a lot more valuable than just providing financial statements that are that comply to IFRS and IFRS for SMEs, right? So in the past, we just had enough time to finish our work because we we were scrambling and crunching numbers and capturing bank statements and typing and ticking and bashing. And by the time we get to financial statements, we're so tired, we just deliver the financial statements and we send our invoice.
Yeah.
If I take it back to what Gerd Leonard says, what's important in the future is what makes you human, right? So your human intuition, your judgment, your experience, the value add that you can give as a human by actually spending time with your client and adding value with the rapport that you've built and the trusted advisor that you've become to that client is going to be what is going to change in the future. So I'm going to have a lot more time to actually go and watch my daughter's ballet recitals, but and basically AI can do all of the preparation work for me, but I'll still need to be able to apply judgment to say, is this correct? Because technology fails, AI does fall over, it does hallucinate. They talk about hallucinations.
Those LLMs.
Yeah, so there's still cracks that can show in the technology itself. So it'll need me to actually apply judgment to say, does this make sense? Is this correct? Is this accurate? But I'll have time to actually say, now I can spend time with my clients to add the value, bring the human element and deliver. And
the trust element.
Yes. And ultimately I need to also take responsibility for the product that the technology delivers, right? So if I use a large language model or I use generative AI and I'm writing a piece of code, for instance, or I'm using it for financial statement preparation, I need to still take responsibility for that work product. I can't say that it was the AI's fault, right? I need to treat the AI, and I've heard this a lot, I need to treat the AI like a trainee or an employee, and I need to still go and review its work, and I need to take responsibility for the work that it delivers. Same as in the auditing profession, where the partner takes the ultimate responsibility for the audit product. I can't go back and say, but it was my audit manager or it was my audit trainee that made a mistake. I'm taking responsibility. It's getting my signature there. So, and that's true for the technology as well. So what does that mean? The technology, the AI or whatever you're using is a tool in your tool belt. It is your employee that you can use at your discretion. But ultimately, when the client pays me, I can't be telling them that, I can't be putting the blame on a technology that failed because they're paying me. I'm responsible for it, but it's going to allow me to do a lot more with my time and add more value by applying what makes me human. And that's the important distinguishing factor here. But then also the changes in technology are also creating new opportunities and spaces where accountants can play, where chartered accountants can play. If you go look at the Future of Jobs report of the World Economic Forum, if you look at the top 10 jobs, I believe that a CA can fill 6 out of 10 of those positions. But it's all going to come down to how much you embrace the technologies and how you can actually utilize those technologies to make you a more efficient chartered accountant. But I believe that a chartered accountant can actually hold a lot of those positions because of what is taught to you at varsity. And it's not what you study, but it is how you learn to deal with difficult situations, with adversity, with time pressure, how you become more resilient and agile as you study to become a chartered accountant. That is what ultimately makes you indispensable in business, and what makes you so marketable, and what makes you so respected is the way that you can take a problem, analyze it, resolve it, and do it while staying on your feet. and not panicking about it. And that is some of the skills that you learn by becoming a chartered accountant. It's definitely not what's in the books and in the files, right? It's not about that. That is the means to the end. But in the end, if I want to know what's in IFRS 3, or I need a synopsis, I can ask a large language model now, or I can just Google it. So knowing that doesn't really make me a good CA. But understanding it and being able to analyze and being able to apply a good judgment on a decision, adding value to it and making it understandable to people out there, that's where I add my value, bringing that experience across. So yeah, I think I've said a lot, but yeah, I'm very excited about the future, and I wouldn't tell people to be concerned, but I think there's a guy called George Couros. He's also a technologist, and George coined the phrase, but I can't remember exactly. I utilize that phrase when I'm doing a presentation of mine. But essentially, it says that technology will not replace great auditors, but great auditors but technology in the hands of great auditors could replace those who don't utilize them. Yeah. So I didn't phrase that correctly, but you get the gist of it. So so you need to embrace the future way of work, and make it your own. And it will involve upskilling and reskilling, but being able to converse in technology and utilize it effectively is going to make you a lot more agile and a lot more marketable in the future, and could very well be something that you can build your career on, which is what I did, and I'm very, very happy that I did. I absolutely love what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Agility, adaptability, resilience. It's tough because these things are soft skills.
Correct.
The ability to build trust, build rapport. It's funny. I was having this conversation with some of my friends, and so they were talking about this one CEO who's a big CEO in a particular accounting firm, and she's a woman of color, and she's doing great things, really representing, marginalized women of color in that sense. And so she's a great source of inspiration and possibility, right? And this girl, she's talking about she spoke. And I think I was asking a question around would you want to be that? And she said, when she spoke to us, she was talking about how she got there through luck. So I don't know if and I hear her, she says, through luck. I'm like, oh, red flag. And so I sort of investigate for that. Okay. What did she say in the presentation? She was like, no, she just said it was her mentor and then the one manager. And I'm like, okay, it's her ability to network, it's her ability to build rapport, to build relationships. That's what got her there. It's all these little soft things that I think it's a duty of mine that I need to start defining these things so we can operationalize them. But it's those things that make you valuable. It's the things that make us human that are going to make us future-proof. And I also wanted to get into this whole idea of Excel. So I know you're very passionate about Excel, and I've heard a few of your views around how Excel can be this powerful tool for learning how to be, one, digitally literate in a way, and two, to build your problem-solving acumen as well. But I want to first draw this idea that I heard about this morning in a podcast. So there's this guy, he's a assistant professor at Methodist University. His name is Dr. Efon Akpan. He's assistant professor of accounting at the university. And he spoke about this idea of being technologically agnostic. And I was like, that is powerful. So basically, learning the general skills, not necessarily being focused on ChatGPT or Google, Gemini, but learning the general skills and the general sort of competencies, enabling competencies to be digitally literate in all these spaces. And I want to hear your thoughts on how Excel can make us that digitally apt CA. And also I want to know, like, from your journey. So one, how can Excel help us get there? And two, from your journey, how did you build your digital skills? Was it on the way? Or because a lot of guys, I've heard like this whole thing of, no man, I'm just going to finish my studies and then I'm going to learn this. I'm going to finish my studies. And because I don't know if it's like misplaced, but I kind of feel like that's not the right way to approach it. I feel like you can start now, like putting in that hour a day. I know Roger Wiley did it in CTA. He started that hour a day learning Excel. So those two things, like what can Excel give us and how would you approach it today?
Yeah. If I may, I just want to touch on that technologically agnostic, what you spoke of.
Yes.
I'm very, very much aligned with that. Look, it's important that you don't just attach yourself to a specific technology, right? I've seen that a lot in business where they basically go for, okay, we've got this technology, so now we need to use this technology, or I'm comfortable in Power BI or whatever I want to call whatever technology. Insert any technology there, because I'm comfortable in it. All my solutions are done in Power BI. I'm not a fan of that, because you need to understand firstly what you're trying to solve for, and then make the technology fit it, not the other way around. You don't decide on the technology and then make the problem fit the technology, right? Very important principle in any innovation or automation project is firstly understanding properly what I need to solve for, and then determining the technology. In actual fact, we talk about people, process, technology. So you actually need to look at it in that order. So I firstly need to understand the people element of a process, then understand the process and optimize the process, and then only change or touch on technology. So technology is not the silver bullet, and it's not the first element that I need to take a look at, right? So yes, technology agnostic, big fan. And that's why if someone asks me what technology do I use in my day-to-day job, it's not specific things. Yes, I've got a whole stack of technologies that I can use and that we deploy as part of automation projects. And one of those is Excel. I mean, Excel is one, SQL is another one, cloud computing is another one. We've got RPA technologies like UiPath that we can also delve into when necessary, when the use case fits. But you do get a lot of people that say, okay, I'm good with UiPath, so that's going to be the way that I'll solve every problem, and that's wrong. That's making the technology fit the problem and not the other way around. Making the problem fit the technology, not the other way around. Okay, so why Excel? So couple of things that I just want to say about Excel is, so it's they've coined Excel as being the biggest programming language, or the most used programming language in the world. And if you think about it, if you think about the elements of how you solve a problem in Excel, or how you model for a problem, it's actually very true. And the other thing is, every person in business uses Excel. It's the most widely used technology in the world. And I think 90% of its users only use 10% of its functionality. And that's why I'm passionate about it, because it's not being used to its full potential by most of the users, and not even accountants. But if you've gone through the trainee journey, and if you've gone through the the audit, the Big Four firm journey, you'll realize that Excel is the tool that most accountants and auditors use on a day-to-day basis, whether you're in auditing, whether you're in taxation, whether you're in financial management, doesn't matter. They use Excel. And most people use Excel only up until about an intermediate level. Most people will tell you on their CVs that they are very proficient in Office and Excel, or they'll tell you that they're advanced or an expert, but they don't know what they don't know. And that's called the Dunning Kruger effect. So the Dunning Kruger effect is, I think, the most applicable to Excel skills in the workplace, in the modern workplace. So yes, Excel is very versatile, and it's actually becoming more and more versatile as things go along. The progression and the development and the innovation on Excel over the past 10 years has been immense. And Excel can solve a lot of problems, and a lot of people don't necessarily know how much you can do. Even automation and development and software solutions can be built and have been built in Excel. Even your monthly reporting process can be entirely automated using Excel. And I'm actually presenting a training at the end of the month. It's free, and I'll share it on my LinkedIn as well. I have shared it, but I'll share it again on my LinkedIn. But the topic is essentially automating your month-end processes.
When will that
Excel.
be?
I think it's the 30th of October.
30th. I don't know if this will come out then.
No worries.
Yeah.
But the recording will possibly be available. But that's why I'm so passionate about Excel, because it's used by almost everyone in business, whether it's your client or whether it's yourself. You will use Excel quite extensively throughout your career. And secondly, because most people don't actually use all its functionality. The other thing is, entire businesses and entire careers have been built on Excel and can still be built on Excel. If I just think about financial modeling, it's very much in its infancy stages in South Africa, and there's so much opportunity out there. It's waiting there for someone to take it and just to run with it, right? And the amount of time that I have for modeling these days is restricted, and it's really just a handful of people that actually utilize Excel for proper financial modeling. But you can build a whole career on it. So that's why Excel is important. Excel also lays the foundation for digital thinking. It lays the foundation for a technological mindset. It lays the foundation for problem solving. It's a tool that you can use. Like I said, that you can utilize that for automated data ingestion on a monthly basis. You can connect that to any of your reports or reporting if you're a management accountant, for instance, financial manager for that matter. You can actually develop with it using Office scripts and or VBA. You can actually create a full-fledged software program within Excel. So a lot of people want to throw other technologies at the problem because they don't know what Excel can truly do, and that's why I'm such a big advocate for it. Just remind me of the second question.
So, first one was around why Excel. The second was, how would you approach learning Excel if you were a student?
Okay, so as a student, I think your first. So if you haven't touched Excel, I think the first time you have to touch Excel is in your second year of varsity. I know that tax has informatics 264, I believe, and that's again very much scratching the surface.
Very much scratching. Yeah.
But that would be a good introduction to someone who hasn't seen it before. And I think in my time we still had SIL. I think SIL 111 or something was like a basic Word in Excel course that you had in your first year. But that's not nearly enough to prepare you.
That's AIM for us now. AIM.
Yeah.
Academic Information Management or something like that.
Yeah, so that's not nearly enough to prepare you for the world of work, right? And how do you do it? I mean, there's so many resources out there, and there's free resources. There are, and I mean, something like Excel, there's no shortage. But it doesn't only need to be Excel, right? I've got a whole technological stack that I can recommend people look at, but it depends on who you are, what your interests are, where do you see yourself going, etc. Because I mean, I can easily recommend someone who's going to be working in data and data, more in the data science side of things. I can easily recommend going and learning about Python. Learning about pandas and data frames and learning about Jupyter notebooks and all those kinds of things, because that is going to possibly be a very good tool in your tool belt. But again, Excel is the foundation to a lot of what you do. So a lot of people use Excel as the entry point, go take it into another technology, and then what do they export it into? Excel. So a lot of people use the technology in that way, and it's not necessarily necessary to take it through that pattern. There's lots of technologies out there. How do you start? I'd say there's lots of online influencers that you can follow. There's lots of people that are Microsoft MVPs that became Microsoft MVPs because they are leaders in the community and essentially teach people for free. And they give back to people. They want to make people more proficient. So there's really a lot of people on YouTube that you can follow. There's courses, there's entire courses, advanced Excel courses, etc. So you can really spend a lot of time on that. Very good resources on things like Udemy and Coursera. There you'll pay a little bit of money, but it's so worth the money if you find the right course. But it comes down to an interest. You have to determine if that's your interest, and to develop an interest is like a hobby. So for me, it became a hobby of I subscribe to these people's channels. When there's a new feature, I want to learn about it. I want to do a study on it. I want to try it. The same goes for how I learned Python. Same goes for how I learned SQL. All of those were essentially self-taught with same way I learned guitar as well. Self-taught with the help and the resources of others, but actually spending time on it and treating it like a serious hobby instead of something that I have to do because I don't really want to do it, but I have to do it because of X, Y, and Z. That's not the right way to go about it. I think continuous learning is important as a CA and as any professional in the modern day. So if technology is one of your focus areas, why not make it a focus area, and why not just spend time on it? And I mean, for me, it's also I also participated, like you said, in the competitive modeling space.
Yeah.
And we actually have another round of the competition on tomorrow and on Saturday, because it's the start of the Microsoft Excel World Championships as well. And that's part of what I do, that for fun. I do it for enjoyment, and I do it to improve myself. And the amount of learning that I got from it was immense, and I had fun while doing it. So, I mean, find an influencer, follow them, see why they are passionate about it, and grow a passion for it yourself. There's so many free resources out there, and I mean, I'm very responsive on LinkedIn as well. So if someone wants my list of resources, they can reach out to me, and I'm happy to share.
Your LinkedIn will be linked in the show notes.
Cool.
So just to summarize, I'd say your uni intro, that's the first step. But if you're in first year and you're hungry, you can also follow some influencers. Go search up Microsoft Excel, and then you'll literally see so many guys big in the space, ready to help.
Exactly.
There's also paid courses, YouTube, Udemy. YouTube's free, but there's Udemy courses. There'll be Coursera courses on Excel. Try those out. if you are that hungry. But I think the overarching thing is interest. My big thing around this is this doesn't need to appeal to everyone. It actually only needs to appeal to one person who's been curious as to, okay, should I do Excel? Shouldn't I? Who's been just peering in. I'm telling you now, do it. You will not regret starting it. And to that one person, you will become even more future-proof than your counterparts, even more competitive. But Renier, that was a fantastic episode. First thing, there's the Microsoft Excel Championship for South Africans, young students. Is there any way that students can get involved with this?
Yeah, so students can join the South African Excel Championships. It's free for students, and then they can also join the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge. It's at mecc.college. That's also free for students. You can win big prizes, and you can even win a trip to Las Vegas for the finals. Peter Pienaar always goes. He'll probably be there this year.
Yeah.
He'll definitely be there this year. And then there's the Microsoft Excel World Championships. So there's so many platforms and so many areas where you can actually join, and you can just sign up there and take it. Even if you come last, I promise you'll learn something, you'll grow, and it will have immense value in your career going forward.
That'll also be linked in the show notes. To close us off, if you could go back to first year, second year, maybe even high school, Renier, what would you tell him?
I would probably say take this a little bit more serious. And I would probably tell him to just keep on pursuing that dream, because it becomes a reality, and it becomes your career, and it makes you irreplaceable. So I wouldn't change anything. I would still follow the same career path, and I would need to I would have had to learn back then what it means to actually pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back on the saddle, and just excel, right? And yeah. So I would probably not tell him too much, because he would need to learn that. But
hindsight 2020.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm very happy with where my career ended up, and very happy at Bitvest. And like I said, I love what I do. So
there's still so much left. That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You're under 35. Well, now you're 35, right?
Yeah. I turned 36. So under 35
was last year.
Is still in the year that you turn 35, you're eligible. So it was my last year to be eligible.
Sure.
And yeah, but I turned 36 this year. Yes.
Keep pursuing the dream. I think having the dream in mind is I think that's one of the things I want to implore aspiring CAs to do. To dream. I think we are in an age where all of the struggle from, our forefathers, our ancestors, our predecessors, the struggle has afforded us this dream, this chance to challenge and become better. So keep dreaming and keep pursuing that dream. Guys, if you have not already, please follow this. Again, Renier's LinkedIn will be linked in the show notes. Please contact him if you need any Excel help. If you need any help in general, I hope that it does not end, but that it begins in CASA. Renier, thank you, man.
Thanks, Alunga. It was a pleasure.